Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today we are diving into the fundamentals of hypothesis testing, a crucial concept in research methodology. So, what exactly is hypothesis testing? In simple terms, it's a way to test an assumption or a hypothesis about a population parameter based on sample data. Let's break down the steps involved in hypothesis testing one by one. So, step number one, state the hypothesis. Now, this involves formulating two competing hypotheses, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null represents no effect or no difference, and the alternative hypothesis represents an effect or a difference. For example, in a drug's efficacy study, the null hypothesis might state that the drug has no effect, while the alternative hypothesis states that the drug has a positive effect. Now, step number two is choosing the significance level. Now, this is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it's actually true. And it is commonly denoted by alpha, and the typical values include 0.05, 0.01, or 0.10. Now, this step states the threshold for determining whether the observed data is sufficiently extreme. Step number three, select the appropriate test. So the choice of the test depends on the data type and the hypothesis. And the common tests include t-test, chi-square test, ANOVA, regression analysis, and the others. Now, each of these tests has specific conditions and assumptions that needs to be met. Now, step number four, calculating the test statistics. So now using the sample data, you will collect the test statistics, which will measure how far the sample statistics is from the null hypothesis parameter. And the formula and the calculation method, they vary depending upon the test you have chosen. Step number five is determining the p-value. So now the p-value, it indicates the probability of obtaining the observed results or more extremes if the null hypothesis is true. A low p-value, typically less than alpha, suggests that null hypothesis can be rejected. Step number six, making the decision. So you have to now compare the p-value to the significance level. Now, if the p-value is less than alpha, reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative hypothesis. If not, fail to reject the null hypothesis. And step number seven, which is the last one, is to interpret the results. So finally, interpret what the results mean in context to the research question that you have stated. Remember, rejecting the null hypothesis doesn't prove that the alternative hypothesis is true, but it indicates that there's enough evidence to support it. And there you have it, the basics of hypothesis testing.